in August, something happened and I got the shanks like real bad. Like I had 28 in-round shanks in 2.5 weeks. And 7 of them were in one round at a place I was really excited to play, Milwaukee Country Club, because it's a hard place to get around. And I was driving the ball as good as I've ever driven it. I mean, we're talking like 285 right down the middle, every hole. And I had 7 wedge, just full send rights. And
pitch out.
To my credit, though, even with 7 of those, I shot an 84.
That's pretty good.
So,
7 shanks.
7 shanks.
Thanks for making the time, Drew. Got a lot going on. Yeah, no, you've got a lot happening. You are on your way back out on tour. And I believe the next leg taking you over to Europe.
Yes, I keep getting hit up by people who are golfers. They're like, "Oh, I see this is a golf trip." I'm like, "Have you ever been to Europe in January? Where it's still only daylight for 5 hours. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of golf in."
If you hit the daylight, you might be able to squeeze in. I mean, it's probably not going to be snowing. So where you're going to Manchester? You're going all over the UK, and
it's just a quick trip. So it's Amsterdam, 2 nights in London, Manchester, Glasgow.
Okay.
So just 5 shows in 6 nights, and then it's a solo tour, so it should be pretty easy.
All right. So for all our listeners over there, make sure you check out Drew Holcomb's website for all the tour dates, and then you come back to us.
Yeah. So then February is a duo tour with my wife Ellie, which we do once a year in February. That's mostly sort of Southeast, Mid-Atlantic. Then a little break, and then the big tour is April, May, 34 shows with the band, coast to coast, pretty much half the cities in America. So it's a long one.
So when you're planning these tours, where are you looking and thinking, all right, this is a place I'm going to play some golf? Or did you deliberately schedule any locations for places you could play some golf?
I don't do that anymore, but I do try to schedule my days off on the road because I can only sing about 4 nights in a row before I start to lose my voice. So typically we'll go 3 nights on, 1 night off, 2 nights on, 1 night off, sort of that 2, 3, sometimes 4. And while I definitely, once the tour is booked and I know which cities I'm going to be playing in, I don't play every day on the road, but I probably play 2 out of 3 days on the road. And by this point, 20 years in, I've got friends in most places that I've met through charity tournaments or a friend of a friend, or, the golf world is very, you play golf with somebody in Pittsburgh and they say, "Oh, I saw you're going to be in Cleveland. You should play with my friend there." So it sort of has created this 15-year, rolling list of friends who host me sort of all over the country. But I certainly have favorites, but then I like to try new things. But at this point, I'm more interested in having a good match with somebody that I know than I am off checking another course off the bucket list. Unless it's something, really special that I haven't played, which I had a couple of those last year, and I'm sure I'll hit a few of those this year as well.
Yeah. In fact, you put out, I think on Instagram or Twitter, you mentioned some of your favorite places that you played this year. I wanted to talk about those. I also wanted to talk about the one glaring omission on that list, Drew.
Oh, the one we played together.
Yeah, how about that? How about a little Waynesboro CC?
I actually had 2 or 3 people. I had 2 or 3 people that similarly, called me and were like, "What the heck, man?" And I honestly, it was a sin of omission, not commission. I loved your golf course. Westboro was amazing.
Waynesboro is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, Waynesboro is amazing. I just clearly my brain isn't functioning very well this morning. No, Waynesboro is a sleeper. I think the problem, like everything in your city, is that the top shelf is so good.
Yeah.
Like Waynesboro would be probably the second best course in Nashville, maybe even the first best course. But there's these cities like Columbus and Philly and San Francisco where it's like really hard for a really great local club to shine out because of what all it's surrounded by. No, Waynesboro was incredible.
Well, thank you. But I think you played Marion the day before. maybe the
I
day
did.
after.
I played Marion the day before. Thankfully, I played better at Waynesboro, so I enjoyed myself a little more. Marion, I had one of those rounds where I went like double birdie, double birdie. And so it was just one of those like in your pocket and then having a great memory back-to-back holes, and sort of as a skittish, you kind of wonder what you're doing, why you even play golf on rounds like that, because it's almost worse that you made some birdies because you're in your pocket like 5 times.
It's the worst, especially when you're somewhere good and you're not finishing hole. It's the worst. You doubled one. Was it the tee shot at Marion? Was it with the pressure of the lunch crowd looking on?
So actually, I did par 1. I doubled 2, and then birdied 3. The number 1, I sprayed it way right, like in the right of the tree. Wow. And then I made it over the tree onto the green and 2-putted. But then the birdie of the day was, what's the one you cross the road back towards the clubhouse, the short par 3?
Is that 13?
13. So 14 is that dog leg left, right? So I duck hooked it, and I'm 3 inches inbounds next to one of those white stakes by the road.
Yeah.
And I'm buried this deep, and I just hit the greatest slash high 60 degree, 54 degree, whatever it was. It was probably like an 80-yard shot. But I mean, I hit it to an inch.
No way.
It was just like, this is so stupid. What am I doing? This is so fun.
That's pretty
because the first shot was so bad. I should have been out of bounds.
It's funny when they had the U.S. Open there, they had, when you go along the road there, they have those, little poles cut off things so that you don't drive on the golf course. They chop those all down to flush for the U.S. Open, which I thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And all those houses along that road they used for staging and scoring.
It's coming back, right? When is it coming back?
It is coming back. I'm gonna throw out 2035 as probably a wrong answer. But
sometime around the decade from now.
Yeah. So not too long from now. So dedicated golfer, accomplished musician. You had a big year, man, and want to talk about that. Let's get back to that list of favorite courses that you did play this year when you were out there. Shoot me, run me through some of those.
So number 1 for me was Valley Club. I had never played Valley Club. I've played a lot of golf in California. I've done sort of the Pebble Spyglass rotation. I've gotten to play Cypress a number of times, Monterey, and then done some of the LA stuff. So I've kind of played the big marquee courses. And obviously Valley Club is very well regarded, but it's also, it's hard to get on. It's hard to get to. It's not really on the beaten path of touring. Santa Barbara's not a big touring market, so I've been there that many times. But I was just really blown away by the golf course itself, but then also the culture of the course. I love really highbrow courses that allow push carts.
Yeah. And
there's all these people just push carting their way around the golf course of every generation. And the culture of it was just really, I found it to be very good. My number 2 was Wingfoot. I finally got to play Wingfoot West. It was 38 degrees and blowing about 10 degrees. It was a cold day, but we played some reasonable tees. And I don't know why, but of all the sort of top 10, 15 courses, Wingfoot had captured my imagination the least over the years. And I think it's just because on TV, it always presented as sort of classic tree lined, back and forth, which in person is not at all the experience. I mean, some of the most incredible green complexes. Yeah. I could imagine it being one of the greatest daily player clubs because the pins are also create a vastly different hole every time you play around it. So that was really fun. I loved that. I got to play Sleepy Hollow for the first time. And it was one of those where, the internet hype is pretty high on Sleepy Hollow the last couple of years, and it lived up to it. It was just a really great, and I got to play that with a guy named Ben Hillard, who works with Gil and is also his son-in-law. But Ben did a lot of the work there, and so playing the course with someone who did a lot of the restoration and renovation work, because some of it was restoration, some of it was renovation. They got rid of some holes. I guess Tillinghast did sort of the back corner years after Rayner did the original, and they tried to sort of make the whole thing a Rayner vibe. And I thought it was incredible. Alito, I thought was really good. Of kind of a sleeper that I had not really heard of that I got to play that I really loved was Minnetonka.
Yeah, Minnetonka by the Sea.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good. Also played really well that day. That always colors it. And then I got to play a couple of places I've played before, but have since been redone. The two that stand out are Congressional Blue and Oakland Hills South. And I liked them before. Actually, I didn't really like Congressional Blue the first time I played it 10 years ago. I thought it was really penal, really hard, really tight. Just kind of there weren't a lot of options, and it wasn't as beautiful, a lot of trees. So they've done all this work, and it's really, really spectacular now. I always kind of think about, because I travel all the time, when I play a golf course, is would I come here just to play this course? Mm-hmm. Or is it just the course you play if you're in town?
That's a good metric. I like that.
Yeah. And before the Congressional, I would say it used to be, play it if you get invited and you're around. Now it's if you have the time, you get invited, it's worth traveling just to play it.
Minnetonka, let me correct myself, is not by the sea. That would be very geographically way off. It is by the water. Now
we're tied. We're tied 1-for-1 on our flubs.
Yes. But it is by the water, and is a great track with some U.S. Open history. That's cool. How'd you get hooked up with Ben? Ben is redoing or doing the restoration work at the course I grew up at, Rolling Green, outside Philadelphia. I don't know if you played that on your travels.
I have not.
All right, that's next up.
No, I chose Waynesboro instead of Rolling Green that day. I'd rather, because we had never played together, and I wanted to play together. So,
next time you're in town, Ben, Rolling Green. But Ben is, they love the work he's doing out there. He seems like a great guy.
He's a great guy. Yeah. So he was working on a project here in Nashville for a bit, and we became friends, and really like him, enjoyed playing with him. And he let me get in an excavator and move some dirt around on this project he was working on here. So that was fun.
That's very fun. So tell me your golf story, Drew. How'd you get into golf? How did it become a part of your life? And can you remember your first time?
Yeah. So my grandfather, I grew up 5 doors down the street from my grandparents. I had a brother who had some pretty significant special needs. He was in a wheelchair from spina bifida. And so about 3 months after he was born, my parents moved down the street from my grandparents because we needed family help with 3 kids under 4 and one of them having, a bunch of medical issues. And so lived down the street from my grandfather. He was a very good golfer. He played at the University of Tennessee only for 1 year because then he had to go to the war. This is 1941, 42. But he played a lot. He was a club champ at a couple places and just an all-around good player. Kind of had a little bit of that Arnie sort of slash and burn Mickelson style of golf. Didn't have a very beautiful swing, but he was a good athlete. And so, but he also, by the time I was old enough to play with him, he was a bit of a what's the nice way of saying somebody who sort of cheats at golf? He was he was just a fun, let's hit another one, and
an opportunist.
He would say things like, if this was a pro tournament, they would have found that ball, and then he would just drop one and take a free drop for himself.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, that was like his MO. So I had to get over that, but then honestly, it didn't stick. I played a little bit of 9-hole. There's a 9-hole golf course in Memphis called Overton Park. It's a classic short muni, like the longest hole is probably 240, all par 4s and 3s. And he lived down the street. So I played that with him as a small child, like 5 to 10. And then I kind of gave up on golf. My dad was a casual golfer, maybe 5 rounds a year. And then I got to where I was playing like 1 round a year at the beach and 1 round a year with, like at a charity scrambles and this and that. But I'll never forget, I got invited to play in the Memphis St. Jude Pro-Am as a celebrity. And we were paired with Harris English, who's a gentleman of a guy. This is, 15 years ago. And maybe 12 years ago. He was young on the tour. And all I had was this 20-year-old set of ping I2s. And my lowest wedge was a pitching wedge. I didn't even have a sand wedge.
Nice.
And so I'm around the green using my pitching wedge, and he's like, "Hey, so talk to me about this, this 10 club thing you've got going on here." He's like, "You got a decent athletic swing, but you you gotta like invest some time and energy and at least get some decent clubs that are, to fill the bag. And around the same time, I was already touring. I was probably 5 years into touring, and I started getting invited to great spots. I'll never forget. I was in Detroit the first time I played Oakland Hills, and I went around there and I was in my pocket on 9 or 10 holes, just hacking it around. And I was just embarrassed. I shot 110 plus, maybe had 2 pars, and they were lucky pars. And I just thought, okay, I think this is going to be a thing. I think I'm going to get invited to do this a lot. I want to really get serious about it. So then I joined this club in Nashville called Nashville Golf and Athletic. It's just a sort of a suburb golfers golf club, everyman's club. And I started taking some lessons and getting serious and got down to like a 12 and then just kind of hung out there for a while. And I would started to play on the road a decent amount. Took my first trip to Scotland with some buddies, shot 100 at Carnoustie and, just had fun, but made a mess of it. And then really kind of started breaking 90 on the regular about 10 years ago. Thought, oh, this is kind of fun. I'm starting to get the bug for actually getting better at this. And this is around the time we transferred from being in a van and trailer as a band to being in a bus, which that meant I then had time during the day because you travel on the bus sleeping through the night and you wake up at 9 o'clock and you're in the city and I don't have sound check till 4 o'clock. And so I was, okay, it's time to start playing some golf on the road. And yeah, so I started taking some lessons and our pro at the Nashville Golf said, so what do you want? I said, I want to be like a single digit. And he goes, like, you want to be a 9 or you want to be a 4? I was like, I want to be a 4. He goes, okay, we got to start over. I got to change it all. I had one of those big, inside, way outside, over the top, big left to right swings. And he made me completely start over. And so I did. I got down, actually last year, I got down to a 2. I'm back up to like a 5. So that's a whole nother story. But I got into the game. The music is what created the opportunity for me because I had all this time on the road. I was already away from my family out working, so I might as well have this hobby. And then I just was very fortunate to make some great friends at great places and have in the last 7 or 8 years have gotten to play. I mean, anywhere I've wanted to play basically. With a few exceptions, and it's been a wild ride. Made tons of wonderful friends along the way.
No doubt, you've played some incredible places. You mentioned you played Cyprus a few times. I know that you've been to the Augusta National.
I have, yeah.
Do you want to tell us how that happened?
Sure. I have a friend who's it's another St. Jude story. A friend whose son is a cancer survivor who's a member at Augusta, and we got in to be friends through. He wrote a book, and I got about his son, and his son was the first. I think it was the first 3-time, maybe 4-time bone marrow transplant survivor in history. I may have the details on that. Maybe it was pediatric. Maybe the first time pediatric survivor of that many, but anyways, he was this incredible kid. He's alive. He's a survivor, doing well. He's in college, but anyways, I got to know his dad through that, and we just became good friends. And so I've gotten to play it with him. Just an incredible guy. And then I've become good friends with a handful of pros, and got invited to play at a pros charity event, and he set up played music at a pros charity event, and he set up an 18-hole round there with my first time. And the funniest thing that happened to me the first time I played it was I've never been hit by a ball, and I got hit like by a line drive to the funny bone on the 9th fairway, and I thought I was going to not get to play the back 9.
Really?
Did
Where
get
was
to
it?
play, but
I'm thinking you're on 9. Where'd the ball come from?
Okay, so I'm on 9. I hit a good drive in the fairway on the right side, just as the slope down the hill starts. So I'm standing on the top of the slope down the hill, and this guy I was playing with hit it way right into the pine straw and the pine trees over there. Okay. There's an electrical box over there. So I'm almost standing directly behind him, maybe 15 degrees off of his left shoulder. So I'm looking at his left hip, but I'm 70 degrees from his target line. And he tries to hit this low punch, like 7-iron, to run it up the hill. And I don't know, closes the face or something, but it comes right backwards past his left shin, line drive, and somebody yells, "Look out!" And I see, and I just lift up my elbow like this to protect my face, and it tags me right in the elbow. It's amazing, honestly, that I didn't break my elbow.
Wait, so it hit it? Did it hit a tree and came back? How did he hit it?
No. It literally, like, it wasn't totally backwards. It was like it was a reverse holiday.
Oh, okay.
You know, like it was like a reverse shank. So it came this way.
Not exactly Bubba Watson on 10, I'll tell you.
It was the opposite of Bubba Watson on 10.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's incredible. You've been there a few times. I know you've had success. I don't know if you can talk about it, but if you can tell us about the success you've had on the second hole there.
Another time, I just want to also preface like my stories with, I am the most self-aware that the embarrassment of riches of golf experience that I have is unusual, and I consider myself very lucky, and I don't take any of it for granted. That said, I really enjoy it, and I also don't apologize for it. So, I was there, and I was one of the other guests was a very famous country musician who's mostly retired from Texas, whose nickname is the King. So that way I can keep it inside the lines.
Plausible deniability there.
Plausible deniability. And I was very excited to be paired with him. And anyway, so my caddy was Bud Jackson, who is Carl Jackson, the famous Crenshaw caddy, his younger brother, and just a great storyteller, amazing guy. And so the pin on 2 was back sort of left, about 10 feet below the cut line. And I hit my second shot, hit a really great drive, and then hit a hybrid, and it went kind of low right, kind of right of where the Sunday pin is. Mm-hmm. And I had about 130-foot putt all the way across the green. I had to go up into the rough on the high side, and I made the putt for eagle on 2. Greatest golf moment. I thought about retiring after that moment, but
making
that's the high of my golf career.
A putt through the rough on 2 at Augusta for the big bird.
For the big bird.
That's pretty outstanding. So now you play out of at home. You're at Country Club of Tennessee.
Golf Club of Tennessee.
Sorry, Golf Club of Tennessee.
Right. No pool at the Golf Club of Tennessee. Sadly, to my wife's chagrin.
There you go. No pool at your other club either. Well, maybe we'll get to that one. That's pretty cool. There are other folks we've had Ben Rector on the pod. I think he plays out there as well.
He does. Yeah. There's a lot of us musicians out there. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the music scene out there? What's the Nashville golf music scene like?
Yeah. I mean, there's most, I don't know about, I think there's a strong majority of artists, or at least like a large number. I don't know if it's a majority, but play golf. I mean, especially inside of country music, which Ben and I are not really in country, but I'm a little more country adjacent, than he is. I'm sort of more folk rock Americana. I say to people, more Tom Petty, less George Jones is sort of our kind of music. But there's so much interface between athletes, musicians, and business folks. There's this like sort of codependency that happens, and so a lot of musicians get invited to play a lot of great golf. And so they decide they want to get good at it. And it makes a great hobby for our particular lifestyle of being on the road and working at night. But we also want to have a place to play back home. And Golf Club of Tennessee is a great spot because it's quiet. It's, it's a classic golfer's golf club. It's out in the middle of the country, and it's designed in the late 80s by Tom Fazio. And there's a lot of country guy. Vince Gill has been there forever. He's a great player. Jake Owen, who we've all seen on AT&T over the years, plays there. And Ben, and there's a whole list of others. There's other clubs in town that musicians love as well and play at. So we're not by any means the only sort of game in town, but it is especially for the musicians who take their golf as seriously as they take their music, it's a good spot. But it's also pretty laid back. But it has a bit of a walking culture, not completely. It's sort of 50-50, but so I really like it. I'm a big walker. And then also I'm part of the Sweetens Cove sort of ownership group. And that is one of my other favorite places on earth. And I don't go down as much as I'd like, but I go down there, once a quarter and play all day. And took my kids on Christmas Eve, and we had a full, 9 holes of my kids playing with me and my wife out there caddying for the little guy. He's a little too young to carry his bag, but he still loves to hit it hard.
Oh, where are we now, Drew? We've moved locations.
We're in my office down here. So yeah, we got some golf memorabilia up yonder. Some big trip flags.
Yeah, you do.
Dornick, Barrett, Old Course,
Cabot, Marion, Waynesboro.
Waynesboro.
No, not there. So are we in the spot where you make your music? Is this the?
It was the spot I used to make my music. We used to have an Airbnb. We have this garage apartment. And during COVID, nobody was renting it, so I moved in there, and my kids moved in here to do their virtual school, and then we never went back. I love that space; is much more creative, and it's usually the space I would be if I wasn't dealing with my dog situation. But yeah, I have a sort of a separate office now, and this is more of a family kind of workspace in the basement. But yeah, I mean, I write mainly here at the house. I have a space in the back where that space I was talking about, and it's got vaulted ceilings. It's just like really sounds great. And it's so interesting how the geography of it and the architecture of it totally changed my creative output.
Really?
Being in this cold, dark basement room was not a very creative space, but it's all I had. And so I was writing maybe like 2 songs a month. And then during COVID, when I went back there, I started writing more like 4 songs a month, and they were better songs. And I was more excited to write. It was a very good lesson in for creative people that the right space really, I think, matters. I mean, sure, that's true for you as a writer, like having the right space to write.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've had basement offices. I've had tiny cramped quarters. This office is pretty comfortable. I actually kind of enjoy busy spaces when I can, just because it makes me focus more. If I'm, traveling or whatever, like that can be a weird, like working in a coffee shop, even though I don't really drink coffee. Sometimes that works too. But yeah, it's interesting. Do you find yourself? Well, I want to pick up on Sweetens Cove, but take me to how does your involvement in Sweetens Cove happen? Was it something before Sweetens existed? Was it you going down there and like, man, this is a place I'd love to be a part of?
Well, I think every golf community has these sort of communication channels where anything that's new or exciting or even different, is being communicated around, even if it's, the head pro at so-and-so is leaving and going to wherever, or it could be as simple as, this country club hired so-and-so architect to redo their bunkers, or they're going to, there's just all this chatter about golf in the region and events and new information. And I remember starting to hear things about this 9-hole course being redone in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, which is about an hour and 45 minutes from downtown Nashville. We live about a mile and a half east of downtown. So there's this chatter, and at first it sounded like it was going to be a private club, and then it was like, well, it's going to be public, and then a little bit private if you wanted to join it. And I went down there. Someone had rented it out. This is back, I don't know, 8 years ago. You could rent the whole place out for like $1,500. This is before the investment group got in. So a lot of people would rent it out and have a buddy's day. And because it was pretty easy to get on back then. It was a $20 9-hole fee or $30, whatever it was. But then as word got out, and then this investment group bought it in 2019, which included some, big names, people like Peyton Manning and Andy Roddick. And the long story that connected me. So 2 parallel things happened there. One, I already knew and loved the golf course and had been going there probably twice a year, starting 10 years ago when it first opened. Mm-hmm. And I met Rob Collins because he was at the time, a lot of times he was in the shack running the show. This is before he was getting a lot of other work. So got to know him a little bit and this Field of Dreams story. And then all of a sudden it started to catch a little bit through different national media outlets and the Golf Illuminati. And then parallel to that, when I was in high school, I got a scholarship to go to the University of Tennessee that was called the Manning Scholarship. And he endowed a scholarship clearly wasn't for athletics.
I was going to say, I had no idea that you had those quarterbacking skills.
Yeah, those quarterbacking skills. No, it was a sort of a leadership academics scholarship program. And
good for you, man.
Yeah. So I accepted that scholarship and went to Tennessee. And to his credit, he sort of stayed in touch with me. That was in 2000 when I got that. And so I graduated 4 years later. He stayed in touch, not a lot, but about every 2 or 3 years. And as my music career developed, he would connect with me via different intermediaries. And someone would say, "Hey, Peyton told me to tell you he loves your new record," and this and that. And then over the last, around the same time I started playing Sweetens, he and I actually got connected more personally, where we were actually texting each other and became friendly outside of just that sort of, endow, mentor, student, scholar relationship. And also parallel to that, I had gotten to know Andy Roddick through a mutual friend who's a golfer that plays a lot, that I play a lot of golf with on the road. They became friends. Andy lives in Charlotte, so does my friend. And so we became friends. They, unrelated to all of that, those guys and some other people bought the golf course in hopes of turning it, kind of getting it, in the black, and giving it some capital budget, like to make all these, improvements that nobody wants to pay for, things like drainage and lawn equipment and all the things that make a golf course go around. So they put together another sort of secondary investment group to start this bourbon as well. And Andy said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody who's a Tennessean, who's a musician, who loves golf, and it'd be a bonus if they already love Sweetens Cove, and they love bourbon." And I was like, "Well, there's only like maybe 3 of those in, because most of these musicians are not native to Tennessee. There's some for sure, but so anyways, that worked out, and I got involved. And then my only caveat was that I also wanted to be involved on the golf side, because that was really my baby. And it's been great. It's I think as the notoriety of the course caught on, it became harder and harder to have the great experience, because it was 80 people waiting on the tee box to play, and it just got backed up. And so we went to this day pass model, which is, I think, while it has left some people on the sidelines, the people that do get there and that plan it and get to go have this, what I would consider a top 5 experience in golf. I mean, I put it up there with the 36er at Muirfield, or playing the old course, playing Pebble. It's like just one of these things that I think everybody needs to experience. And I don't say that just because I have skin in the game, because, we basically take every dollar that we make out of it, pour it back into the property and the staff. So it's a legacy pride thing for me, more than it is a business. I think everybody that is involved in it on the ownership side, we just thought it was beautiful and wanted to see it thrive. And we're so grateful that it is thriving.
Indeed it is. Are there any plans that, as an owner, you can give us any hints on anything in the works for Sweetens Cove? I mean, it doesn't need much. It kind of is what it is.
It doesn't need much. It is what it is. We've always sort of toyed around with if there's something else to do there. We've currently landed on, let's just make small tweaks to make the experience better. We added food this year, which was a big deal and was kind of hard to pull off, but little things, again, we're not a country club with a bunch of people that pay dues, so we've got to work with what we've got. Our merchandising is always really fun. We've got great events. It's like little tweaks here and there to make the experience, to just make it incrementally better every year. And if there's ever an opportunity that makes sense to make some, large scale change or addition, we're definitely open to that, but we're not currently executing anything like that.
Yeah, it's a fine line with a place like Sweetens, because what people fell in love with is that it isn't like other places, and that it is very,
totally
simple, has a rustic nature to it, that you're not bothered. So you don't want to mess up the recipe too much, because it's pretty, it's a very it's a very special one, and one certainly that Rob and crew nailed. So yeah, and couldn't agree more. It's an experience everyone has to have. Another experience that you would wish for any golfer. We have written about in the Golfer's Journal. Early on, have written about the Hoopy Match Club. We have, well, maybe I shouldn't even mention it. We'll just say the Hoopy Match Club has been in the Golfer's Journal, and it's a place that you love as well. Why do you love the Hoopy Match Club, and how is it special?
I love the style of golf that Gil and Mike created, where I love match play. I love it for a lot of reasons. One, I think it's more fun for the average golfer to not be just, grinding over every because the average golfer is going to make a lot of mistakes in a round, and so I hate it when you're playing a stroke play event, or you're playing a match that's stroke play, or only stroke play, or a bet that's a stroke play bet. You're going to be in your pocket once a round, or you're at least going to be, making a mess a couple of times around. So the match play format is great, I think, because it really allows, if you're like, I played a hoopy last week, and I was playing really well, but it was 2v2. And on 18, I absolutely power pulled my drive, into the caddy shack. I'm out of the hole,
yeah,
dead left, almost into the range. Honestly,
okay.
didn't find it,
I'm
but
just
it was
thinking about 18. Yeah, dude, that's out there.
It's out there. Just a full. I was trying to hit it as hard as I could. We were playing.
It's a short hole. You don't need to, Drew.
Well, see, that's another thing. The winner picks the box, and the guy I'm playing against, we're all square. The guy we're one down, and the guy we're playing against, and my partner was the highest handicapper. He was like an 11. No, we're playing against two guys that are closer to scratch, and he's getting a shot, and so they take us all the way back. We're playing at 440.
Whoa, okay, never done that.
So I'm like, all right, I got to lay into this drive here, because I need to make a birdie or hope they make a mistake. And instead, I just, slung it into the ozone left. But it didn't ruin my round. It's just one hole, we did lose the match, but we pushed the hole because my partner made a par. But that style of golf, I love. There's no golf carts. There's no cart paths. There are some carts, but it's only medical, which it's that Scottish style of golf. And even though it's a private club, their model is generous for people who want to take, members can send unaccompanied groups. And that's really unique, I think, in that sort of higher echelon of clubs. And the camaraderie, the walking, the culture of disengaging from your phone and culture for a minute and just engaging people on a one-on-one level. That's what I love about golf. I've made so many friends walking 18 holes over the years, getting to know people. Hey, how old are your kids? What are they up to? How'd you get into the business you're in? Or, and it's just the whole culture of golf. I think what I like about a hoopy is a lot of the things I love about golf, it sort of holds in a crucible.
That's a good point. Yeah, when you get there, you definitely feel like you're removed from the world, and you're usually like overnight, and so it's kind of like you're on this camp out with all these other golf crazy people, and you're all eating the same food, and the food is outstanding. It's like the perfect place. So I've much envy of you.
I think Gil did such a great job of. Every single shot on the golf course has options. Mm-hmm. Whether you want to take the high risk option, the low risk option, or you're a good golfer and you want to, try some, it suits all style of play. I've had days out there where I've made 5 or 6 birdies, and then there's been days where I couldn't find the hole. Yeah. So it's just a really fun experience.
That's a great point. And that's why it is a good, like you'd say, all right, how do you design a golf course for match play? Well, they accomplished it, Gil and Jim at the Hoopy Match Club, because you're always playing a match there. And I've felt that when you're getting up to a hole where you're like, man, I have an option here and I really have to think about what I'm doing. depending on where I am in the match, should I try and drive the green? Should I go try and, lay back? There's always, should I go up to a tee where I could drive the green? That stuff. It's so fun. So fun. So I hope we get to have a match there. We have a rematch on the books, I hope.
We do have a rematch.
I think I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to hide from it. Drew took it down at Waynesboro at my home club. So I think maybe I could return the favor with a little home and home action. It was the fun was had by all though, but an incredibly special place.
That one, it was that one swing. Was it 17?
What did I do? I don't even remember.
You went left. I think it was 17. The one with the creek running through the middle. Is that 17?
Oh no, that's 13 with the creek.
Maybe it wasn't the creek. There was a hole where it was OB left. Coming in, I think it was 16 or 17.
Oh, it's 16. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yes, I did. I never hit it over there.
Yeah.
I was just nervous. I'm playing with Drew Holcomb. You're going around telling me how you play at, the Hoopy and Augusta and Cypress. I'm like, no, that was super fun. You're an incredibly fun guy to play with. So, getting back to playing with, and you said you do play some matches at your club with Ben Rector. I thought that was funny that you mentioned that, that he's not a trash talker. And,
he's not a trash talker.
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach him,
Yeah. I'd say he handicaps. Do you guys play even up?
I would say generally he's a shot or two better on the card than I am. Ben has a more consistent game. I think that's one of the reasons he gets frustrated playing with me, because he is a better player than I am. But I have a tendency to make more heroic moments out of my game than he does.
Ah, yes. No, I know how that works. And there's nothing more frustrating for the player who fancies themselves as the better golfer.
He can absolutely. We both hit it a long way, but he hits it a long way.
He can. He really. He's got a good move, man.
He's got a good move.
Yeah.
I think the more golf we've played together over the years, the more comfortable we've got. I mean, there's everybody, musicians can be competitive with each other, and we came up together, and but we have vastly different styles of music, different careers. And I think we've really come to learn to celebrate each other and to enjoy each other's company on the golf course. And I have a lot of respect for Ben, and I believe that feeling is probably mutual based on our relationship. But this year we didn't hardly play it all together because we were both kind of ships in the night on the touring front. But we got to take a trip together last January and play a little bit of golf at golf club. This was my least. I toured so much this year. This is the least amount of rounds I've played in Nashville in 10 years. I hope to remedy that, but that's just sort of the nature of the work I'm in right now.
Well, you're hot, man. You've got an album out that's doing really well. It's been out for. You were supporting it last year, right?
Yeah, it came out in June. The songs started coming out around February.
Yeah.
And then we actually, sort of news early, and it's fine if you can keep it in. But we actually, when we made the record, we recorded not 11 songs, but 21 songs. And Strangers No More Volume 2 is going to start coming out one piece at a time. And it'll be a double record by the time it all comes out in September.
Heck yeah.
So there's a lot more new music on the horizon and a lot of touring as well. So, but yeah, we were out all summer with Darius Rucker, which we never really do a lot of summer touring. And then we had our fall headline tour and all the stuff supporting the new record. And so it's been busy, but it's been great.
Did you tee it up with Hootie?
Oh yeah. We played a lot of golf together.
I would imagine you would.
Yeah.
Now who wins that? Who wins that match?
We're straight up very different games. He's a sort of a traditional sort of, he's quite a bit older than me, obviously. He hits it. I hit it really far, but I don't hit it very straight. He hits it, 255 right down the middle, a little low draw. He's got a tidier game for sure. But his putter is either his best friend or his worst enemy. And so that was sort of the determining factor in who won in our matches.
I now have Hootie and the Blowfish songs running through my head, and could be a tough day. No, I was a big Hootie guy in college. We all were. If you went,
they're doing a huge sort 90s. Of. I don't know if it's a farewell tour or like a farewell for now tour, but they're doing a big summer blowout.
Good for them.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So you're a grinder, though. Are there golf goals that you can share with us for 2024 as we, you've got a big music year planned? What do you got planned for your golf year?
Well, the big sort of thing that's circled is I'm taking, when I say I'm taking, it's just because I put the trip together, but my 7 sort of closest friends were doing a Northern Scotland Highlands trip.
Nice.
And yeah, it's
I have a book they should all read.
Yes, I know. I think most of them, I'm pretty sure most of them have read it. So,
everyone says that.
Yeah, but it's we're playing a couple of the big obvious ones, the Dornoch, Castle Stewart, Aberdeen, Cruden Bay, but then we're also playing the Brewer, Golspie, Fort Ross, stuff like that. So we're going to have a really great trip. But my goals this year in golf is interesting. I don't have a lot of time to work on my game right now. And so I'm just trying to enjoy the moment and be present over every shot and lower my expectations because I'm so busy. I'm not going to have time to grind out, 80 rounds and get a bunch of practice sessions in. That's just not going to happen. So enjoying the time I do get to play. And then there's definitely, I had a string of, I think I may have told you about this, but in August, something happened and I got the shanks like real bad. Like I had 28 in-round shanks in 2.5 weeks. And 7 of them were in one round at a place I was really excited to play, Milwaukee Country Club, because it's a hard place to get around. And I was driving the ball as good as I've ever driven it. I mean, we're talking like 285 right down the middle, every hole. And I had 7 wedge, just full send rights. And
pitch out.
To my credit, though, even with 7 of those, I shot an 84.
That's pretty good.
So,
7 shanks.
7 shanks. It took me a minute to get rid of them. I had to sort of call in the emergency patrol. A good buddy of mine who I trust the most. And anyways, he fixed it. I was just, bringing the club way too far inside and couldn't get the club face back around to it. But my fix at the time was I was trying to do the other thing where I was getting like really far away from the ball. And anyways, It was just a mess. But I know that we're talking to a bunch of golfers on here, so they love to hear that.
I know. If someone's listening and has the shanks, what was your cure again? Because there's nothing that'll make you want to quit any more than having the shanks.
Yeah, I mean, my teaching buddy was basically saying there's sort of 2 kinds of shanks, and I was trying to fix the wrong kind. So I was not too close to the ball. That was not what was going on. It was that I was bringing the club face, instead of here, I was bringing it here at takeaway. So I was coming in way, way inside and then couldn't get back to it. So he's got me now, I feel like I'm like pointing it to, right field, but it's not. When I look at the videos, that's the great thing about the videos. Yeah. Just like, hey man, the video doesn't lie. This is what you're doing.
Feel is not real. Yeah. You're probably just bringing it straight back when you feel like you're picking it straight up. Yeah. When that bringing it inside and then you're just basically presenting the hosel right to the golf ball. It's not, it happens. Yeah.
It happens. So anyways, I went from a 2 to a 7 in like 6 weeks, which is just hilarious and horrible.
And expensive.
And expensive. It also shows you how much golf I was playing inside of that time frame. But I'm back down to like a 4.5 and I'm playing some better golf. But I've never been. I grind over the game in the sense that I have a friend who taught me, especially when you're playing in a match, until their ball is in the hole and yours is not. Until the hole is actually lost, stay in and grind it out. And then the good friend of mine is a golfer, the PGA Tour player, Scott Stallings. He's a ton of fun. And he gave me this great mindset thing about a year ago that I've been working with. And he said, every missed green is an opportunity for a memory. So he's like, get to where you love your wedges as like your paintbrushes if you're an artist.
Wow. Yeah.
And I've really taken that to heart and have loved that. And my favorite memory from this year is I have this big Ryder Cup day with my brother. We raise money for the first tee. It's at Sweetens Cove. It's my 20 versus his 20. So it's mostly a Memphis versus Nashville day. And we've been doing it for about 6 years. And one of the guys on my brother's team used to play on the Latin American tours. He's a +4. I mean, the guy is an absolute baller. And he was 2 up with 5 to go. I had a 12-footer for bogey. He had a 6-footer for bogey on 7. And I gave him the opportunity to go good. He laughed and said, putt that, which he should have. But I was also like, I'm going to, so I made it. And then he missed.
Hell yeah.
And then we get to 18. We're tied. I mean, we get to 9. It's a 9-hole match. We get to 9 at Sweetens, a short par 3, sort of Redan. And I hit it short. I'm about 1.5 feet short in the rough. And we're walking through the sand. And he's got about a 30-footer. And I said, hey, Jonathan, I'm going to chip this in. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to chip this in. And I step up to it. Bounce, roll, dead center, dunk to win the match. And he's like, you've got to be kidding me. But it was that mindset of, hey, just because I missed the green, I'm in this hole, and I'm not a great iron player, so I have to think that way a lot because I'm not a great fairway to green player. That's the weakest part of my game. So I'm going to keep grinding on that.
That's great advice. Every missed green is an opportunity for a memory. I had a lot of memorable opportunities this year. I didn't make a lot of memories, but probably the weakest part of my game as well. Drew, I can't have you on the podcast, the musician on the podcast, without asking you, of course, your take on the most hotly debated topic in golf. No, it's not the golf ball. It's music on the golf course. Yes or no?
Okay, so my personal preference is no most of the time, only because I have a hard time hearing music without it getting my creative engine turning. Mm-hmm. Thinking about music when I would rather be paying attention to golf and conversation. That said, I don't really mind it with 2 rules. One, I cannot have 2 musics playing at the same time. Like the 2 carts with 2 different things going.
Such a violation.
Is a severe violation. And then 2, dear God, please don't play my music when we're playing golf together.
Oh. Has
people
someone ever dared?
That. Oh, for sure. Now, every once in a while it happens like where it's on a playlist, and that's okay. I get it. Like, I'm honored if people have me on their playlist. But when they're like, hey, let's listen to you, I'm like, some people do it to try to get ahead in the match, but I'm going to start having a contract at the beginning of a match that you can't play my music during the match.
Yeah, right? No, it's just so
I'm not really going to do that, but I don't love that.
It's like I had a flight to Ireland one time and I'm sitting next to a dude, which was incredibly cool that he pulled out a course called Ireland. I was like, it's a thrill. That was like something I was like, man, that would be cool if that ever happened someday. But then he read it the whole way there next to me. And I'm just like, shit. Why isn't he laughing? Why isn't he smiling? What is he thinking? But it's like the longest flight of my life.
That's an egregious personal space violation.
I was like, oh, dude, just go, do something else. Play on your phone. No, but that's really, really great. So can't thank you enough for coming on the pod. You were recently, though, also can't thank you enough for being part of our Nashville documentary that the Golfers Journal, that maybe, depending on when this podcast drops, it might be live or it might be coming soon. Just want to ask you, what was it like? I mean, you were fantastic on that. So if anyone wants to hear more about Drew's songwriting process or hear Drew perform, which absolutely just blows. I've seen the rough cut, and dude, it is so great. Casey sent it to me about a week ago, and I was really honored, and I felt very sort of, it was really cool to be a part of what you guys are doing there. I think it's a really great narrative piece, and it was fun to connect. There's so much connective tissue, I think, between golf and music, and it was fun to sort of, verbally process that on camera. And to get to share some of my life and my stories. And this game is giving me a lot. And honestly, too, not to like toot you guys' horn, but I've been
subscriber of the Golfer's Journal since day one. And
thank you.
So much of golf media for so long was focused on the pro game. And that's so little of what most golfers spend their time on. And so it's been really great to see such great content, great photography, great storytelling in this, beautiful collector's format. And, I've done a lot of different stuff in golf media, but getting to do something with you guys was a real treat just because I'm in the tribe. I'm a fan.
Thanks, man. You knocked it out of the park. So everyone check out the Nashville documentary. And please check out Drew on tour, going everywhere. So if you go to drewholcomb.com, you'll probably find a spot. I'm going to try and catch you, I think, in Charleston down at the
sweet.
The music hall. That's a fun spot. Maybe a couple courses down there we could maybe check out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Drew. We'll see you out there on the road, on the course, or playing some music.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Good to be with you.
Great being with you. Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you enjoyed this episode, we strongly encourage you to become a member of the Golfer's Journal, or if you already are, to share it with your friends. As a reader-supported publication, we couldn't do it without you. We also couldn't do it without the help of our partners, and they are Titleist, Scotty Cameron, FootJoy, Linksole, Omega, Charles Schwab, and BMW. We'll see you next time on the Golfer's Journal podcast.